Everyone at the Royal Burghers Zoo in Arnhem was gripped with worry. Mama, the 59-year-old matriarch of the chimpanzee colony, hadn't eaten in days. Her condition was deteriorating fast, and time was slipping away. Amid this quiet heartache, a familiar voice was preparing to make a final, vital difference. Mama wasn't just another animal at the zoo. She was a legend, the wise and revered leader of a thriving chimpanzee group. She had long been the soul of the colony, but age had caught up with her. Despite the tireless efforts of zookeepers and veterinarians, Mama's health continued to decline. Eventually, she stopped eating altogether. The staff, heartbroken, watched helplessly as the vibrant force of nature they had known began to fade. They had seen her overcome hardship time and again. It was unthinkable to imagine her life quietly slipping away. Yet nature had taken its course, and there was little more they could do than keep her comfortable as she drifted closer to the end. The most painful part was knowing that Mama might never grasp the immense impact she had made, not just on them, but on the world. Born in the wild, Mama had become a key figure in groundbreaking research on primate behavior since her arrival at the zoo. Orphaned at a young age due to poachers, she was rescued by conservationists and brought to Royal Burghers Zoo in Arnhem, the Netherlands, as part of a larger effort to protect her species. There, Mama found a second home and quickly became its heart. She bonded easily with the other chimpanzees and formed strong, lasting connections with the humans who cared for her. In time, she rose to become the matriarch of the colony, maintaining peace and teaching younger chimps the vital skills of survival. Her intelligence and gentle spirit made her beloved by staff and visitors alike. Though her world was far from the one she was born into, it offered her safety, purpose, and the chance to change lives, not only in her own species, but in ours. She became invaluable to science and conservation, her leadership and compassion offering insight into the emotional depths of primates. Mama featured prominently in the work of renowned primatologist Professor Jan van Hoof. He first met her in 1972, when he helped establish the chimpanzee colony at the zoo. From that first encounter, a special bond took root between the young scientist and the spirited chimp. Jan's visits to the zoo became a fixture in his life. Over time, he transformed from observer to friend. Their relationship, built on mutual respect and countless shared moments, ran deep. It wasn't just about research anymore, it was about trust, memory, and connection. In April 2016, news of Mama's decline reached January. Though retired, he had stayed close to the zoo and remained deeply connected to the colony. The thought of Mama refusing to eat, slipping away without comfort, struck him deeply. He knew at once he had to see her, one last time. This visit wasn't about science. It was something far more personal. Jan felt compelled to be with the friend who had given him so much, not only to say goodbye, but to offer her the peace of a familiar voice, a known presence. The idea of her passing in solitude was unbearable. As Jan made the journey, his thoughts wandered across the decades. He remembered the first time he saw her, a young, energetic chimp who, even then, radiated leadership. She had become the heart of his work, the soul of his studies. Through her, he had glimpsed the true emotional lives of primates. She had taught him far more than any textbook ever could. Their connection had long since grown beyond that of researcher and subject. What they had was something rare, a deep, enduring friendship. Jan hoped that his visit might awaken that bond, that, even in her final days, the echo of their connection might reach her. And he needed it too. He needed to say goodbye. When he arrived at the zoo, Jan felt a wave of nervous anticipation. As he was welcomed by the staff, he carried with him the memories, the years, the love. They led him to Mama's enclosure. She lay still, a quiet, fragile figure, so different from the commanding presence he had known. Jan's heart clenched. He took a deep breath and stepped closer. "Mama, it's me, January. I've come to see you." Nothing. She didn't move. Her eyes were shut, her breath shallow. He tried again, louder this time. "Mama, it's January. Do you remember me?" The staff stood silently, watching, hoping. But Mama remained still. Jan's chest tightened. Was he too late? Had the bond they once shared faded away in her fading world? He closed his eyes, searching for a way to reach her. Then he remembered a simple tune he used to hum during his visits. It had always calmed her. Gently, he began to sing. The notes were soft, full of memory, floating through the enclosure like a forgotten lullaby. And then it happened. A faint twitch in Mama's ears. Her eyes flickered, unsure. She turned her head slowly, confused at first, until her gaze settled on him. Recognition, faint but real. A hush fell over the staff. Hope crept back into the room. Jan kept singing. Mama's expression softened. His voice trembled as he stepped closer, reaching out to touch her hand. The moment was nothing short of miraculous. The staff, just moments ago steeped in grief, now watched with tearful awe as the familiar voice, the familiar song, bridged the void. Her eyes, weary and dim, sparked, just for a second, with the glow of remembrance. She gripped his hand, lightly, but unmistakably. Jan sang on. Their eyes met. Mama blinked slowly, trying to push through the fog that clouded her mind. The staff stood back, holding their breath, letting the sacred moment unfold. Jan spoke to her between melodies, reminding her of their shared past, of the mischief of her younger days, the brilliance of her mind, the many moments they had lived side by side. His voice was a lifeline, and she was reaching for it. Then her fingers twitched. Sorry for the interruption. Before we continue with the story, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. Thank you. It was a tiny motion, but in that room it meant everything. Jan stopped singing for a moment. Encouraged, he leaned in closer, their eyes still locked. You remember, don't you, Mama? He whispered. We've shared so much. And then, slowly, unsteadily, Mama lifted her other hand and reached toward him. Her movement was weak, trembling, but it was unmistakable. Gasps escaped around the room. Staff members wept openly. Jan took her hand in his, feeling the fragile grip of her fingers close around his. A small gesture, but in it the weight of a lifetime. I'm here, Mama, Jan whispered gently. You're not alone. Her eyes softened further. With fragile effort, she squeezed Jan's hand. A silent, yet unmistakable acknowledgement of his presence and the bond they shared. The spark of life and connection was impossible to ignore. Jan continued singing softly. Mama's gaze never wavered. Her grip, once faint, grew stronger, as if his voice had rekindled something inside her. A will to hold on just a little longer. The staff looked on in stunned silence. A moment they had feared would be full of sorrow was transforming into one of wonder. Against all odds, Mama was responding. Felt like a miracle. The connection between Jan and Mama wasn't just real. It was powerful, unmatched. They had never seen such a deep bond between a human and an animal. As Jan spoke and sang to her, Mama began to move her head slightly. Her eyes grew brighter. She was tracking his voice, soaking in every sound, every word. A wave of hope swept through the room. What they had feared was the end had become a turning point. Mama was not giving up, not yet. The energy shifted from helpless grief to cautious optimism. Inspired by her sudden change, the staff redoubled their efforts. They spoke to her more, sat with her longer, and offered her comfort wherever they could. Then, something extraordinary happened. The other chimpanzees, who had seemed restless and withdrawn during Mama's decline, began to change too. They watched Jan and Mama with growing interest. Their expressions softened. Slowly, they began to vocalize, to move closer, to reach toward the enclosure's edge. Their presence became gentle, supportive, almost reverent. The sense of unity in the troop was breathtaking. As Jan gently stroked Mama's hand, he noticed her glance toward a particular corner of her nest. Curious, he followed her gaze and approached it. There, nestled beneath a small pile of straw and leaves, something was hidden. He carefully sifted through it and found a secret stash of food.
Fruits, nus, primate biscuits.
Mama had hidden them. She had been saving them. Jan was overwhelmed. Despite her frailty, despite her silence and stillness, Mama had not given up. She had been conserving her strength, waiting for something or someone. He turned to the staff and shared his discovery. The reaction was universal. Awe. This wasn't just instinct. It was planning. It was hope. It was Mama's quiet resilience shining through. Moved by this revelation, the caregivers incorporated it into her care. They offered small portions of her favorite foods. And Mama, for the first time in days, began to eat. Slowly but surely. The colony felt the change too. With each day, they became more active, more playful. Their joy returned, lifting everyone's spirits. Jan visited daily. He sat with her, spoke softly, and reminded her of all the years they had shared, their rituals, their discoveries, their silent understanding. Day by day, Mama's energy returned bit by bit. And then, one afternoon, as he sat beside her, the truth struck him. Mama had waited for him. She had saved her final reserves of strength because she knew he would come. Jan was overcome. Tears welled in his eyes. He held her fragile hand and whispered, "You knew, didn't you? You always knew." The staff felt it too. This wasn't just survival. This was something deeper, an enduring, conscious bond. A friendship that defied words. In those final days, Mama was not alone. She was surrounded by love. From her troop, her caregivers, and most importantly, from Jan. His presence gave her peace. His voice brought her comfort. And in those sacred moments, Mama rested. She knew she was safe. When Mama finally passed, it was quiet, peaceful. She was surrounded by the soft sounds of her family and the man who had loved her for decades. The zoo held a memorial in her honor. Staff, researchers, and visitors gathered to celebrate her life. They spoke of her wisdom, her leadership, and her legacy. Not just as a chimpanzee, but as a symbol of emotional intelligence, compassion, and connection. Jan took the stage, his voice thick with emotion. "Mama wasn't just a research subject," he said. "She was my friend. She taught us about the richness of chimpanzee society, the depth of their emotions, the strength of their bonds. Her story will continue to inspire how we study, how we care, and how we relate to the world around us." Mama's legacy echoed far beyond the walls of the zoo. Her final days reminded people everywhere that animals are not so different from us, that they think, they feel, they love. Her story sparked a renewed commitment to primate research, conservation, and empathy. Because of Mama, the future is brighter. Her life touched thousands. Her bond with Jan changed lives, and her spirit lives on. In every lesson learned, every life protected, and every heart she reached. Did this story touch your heart? What did you think of Jan's relationship with Mama? Do you believe animals feel love the way we do? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share it. Your support helps us bring more true stories like this to life. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.